Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on this video. I'm Old Panda. Hey, you know what we're going to talk about this week? I'm actually going to do a little bit of a review on, not Silent Hill 2, because I've talked about that a lot, but actually the movie Return to Silent Hill. I actually have a lot to say about this particular movie, but what we're going to do here is I'm going to talk about things for the first half of the video, basically to those that are looking to actually watch the film. You know, just some things to actually look for and to think about and kind of prepare yourself going in. And so this will be non-spoiler-ish type of territory. And then the last half is actually going to be me talking about the spoiler stuff. So the instruction is, if you're interested in watching Return to Silent Hill and you don't want to know any spoilers or anything like that, listen to the first half of the video. I will put prompts up and everything for the spoiler territory, and then we'll talk about all the spoilers after the fact. So if you're going into the movie, watch half this video, go see the movie, come back, watch the rest of the half, and we'll actually talk about a few different things when it comes to Return to Silent Hill. Alright, those of you that are looking to watch Return to Silent Hill, here's a few things to take notice to and things of what to expect before you go into the movie. It's an adaptation, and that is key. If you're gonna go see this particular movie, remind yourself this is an adaptation and not a one-to-one retelling of Silent Hill 2. There's going to be a lot of references, a lot of fan service. There's also going to be a lot of similarities and things of that nature going into Return to Silent Hill that is going to make you think about Silent Hill 2. And so the key thing to note here is that this is an adaptation. If you decide you're going to go in and actually see this movie and think you're going to get a full retelling or full lore, awareness opening up of Silent Hill 2, you're going to probably be disappointed in the film, because the film itself, I will say, after seeing it myself, and again, I'm not an expert when it comes to movies. In fact, far be it for me to talk about video game adaptations. I was not the biggest fan of the Resident Evil franchise movies. There's a few things I liked about the films. There's a few things that pointed out. Same thing with the series. Obviously, Infinite Darkness is probably the best one, but if you've seen any of the Resident Evil series stuff on Netflix, there were some interesting things about it, but overall it was not a great adaptation at all. So that is something to keep in mind here. I will say Return to Silent Hill is not all that it's bad that all the critics and all the users are saying. If you're a diehard fan of Silent Hill 2 and you are totally into just trying to expand the existing lore of Silent Hill 2, there is some stuff to like about it, but know that you're probably setting yourself up for failure. Try to look at this as a retelling, a bit more of a different method of Silent Hill 2 being retold in a live action setting that might actually make a bit more sense. And if you're looking into this particular film that it's kind of connected to the previous ones, I hate to break it to you, I don't really see a lot of that connection there. There might be some things that have some nice nods and homages to it, but there's not really anything here that's connected to those previous films. So just set your expectations appropriately if you're going to go see the film, because honestly, there is some goodness here. There is some really good stuff related to the film itself, and I actually very much enjoyed it overall, despite some of the nitpicks and things that I may have with the film itself. There's a lot of interesting aspects, and there's a lot of interesting character arcs, and a lot of interesting and different choices that were made with this film that I think, again, you're going to be entertained, and I think you're going to enjoy. It does have all the characters that you're expecting to. It even has some influence of others, and it has some more interesting tidbits that they try to go with this to make it seem like it's a real live action retelling of Silent Hill. Now, with that being said, set your expectations appropriately. This isn't an Oscar winning movie. You can definitely see some things in the film that they put a lot of work into, a lot of money into, and then some things they kind of skimped out about, which actually still makes it a very interesting telling in it. And it's all about storytelling. If you're expecting a whole lot of action out of this film, it's probably not going to be one you're going to enjoy. Like, there's definitely not a lot of combat type action into this particular film, and you'll see that if you decide to go in and actually see this. With that being said, I think you'll enjoy it. Just try to set your expectations appropriately, and just know that this is a retelling of it. All right. We're going to get into the spoiler activity here, so I'm going to flash spoilers across the screen and let you know that this is where we start talking about the spoilery areas of the film itself. Do not watch ahead of this if you are interested in, I can't emphasize this enough, because there is a lot of interesting spoilers, events, stories, and things that are coming out of the film that I do want to talk about. So, again, if you haven't seen the film, stop what you're doing now. Pause the video, stop it, go watch the movie, come back, listen to this, and we'll talk more about it. Feel free to comment to what you feel about the movie itself. All right. There's not anybody at the door. You haven't seen anybody at the window. Doors unlocked. Windows are closed. Great. All right, let's start talking about the spoilers. A few nitpicks. So the actor who plays James, actually, I think he did a pretty good job with what the script and everything that he was given, and really did, believe it or not, surprise me a bit when it came to what was shown in the trailer. This particular version of James Sunderland is a vet, and unfortunately, the one nitpick that I can't stand is that they never use the iconic green jacket that he wears. It's very leather. He does have some pendants. He's very artistry. And they emphasize that point that he is a painter, which I don't believe James, even in the original series, was a painter itself. But some of the great things with his character arc are pretty awesome. They emphasize the issues and problems that he has when it comes to drinking and kind of that lustful way of handling things. And he's very emotionally driven, which is a little different take, a little bit of a different take. Like, emotionally, James does exhibit those behaviors in the game, but he's a bit more subtle about it and everything else. The other thing I really didn't care much for was the use of Eddie, which they, and others, and we'll get to the characters here in just a second. Eddie is not a main character in this movie. You see him for maybe one or two scenes, and he kind of shows what little impact he has on the story, and then you never see him again. Eddie is not even pivotal to this story whatsoever, mainly just because he's probably the only one other character other than Angela, Maria, Laura, and all of those others that are in the story. However, they're not really in the story. What I mean by that is they make a major decision, or at least I don't know who it was, the director, the screenwriter, or whoever, that decided to reveal that even though James killed Mary, Mary is also 4 different people in one. I don't really understand why they went that particular method or why they went that particular direction. I think having the separate characters together, Angela, Laura, and Maria together as part of Mary, was kind of an odd choice, all in one entity, and James's crazy, kind of psycho-driven mind of putting them all together, merging them all together, and to be an emphasis and controlling with him, dealing with his guilt of killing his wife for the end of the film. I just thought that was kind of weird. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It also, what I think kind of kills it for me a little bit, though, with that particular choice, was that they really took Angela and I don't know, they ripped her character apart. She didn't look the part. She just seemed like a crazy lady that has been in Silent Hill for way too long. And they tried to kind of pay homage to Silent Hill 2 with the blade scene with her laying down there, but she's not at all supposed to. Like, she just looks like a crazy lady. She doesn't even look like a well put together adult, that has been a survivor of SA throughout the times of her years growing up. Abstract Daddy also ended up being more partially with Mary, which I still don't understand that. So Abstract Daddy is not really Abstract Daddy whatsoever. And the kind of the fiery burning scene with Mary was kind of weird, and they just kind of really shortcut on Angela's story, not to mention Laura's story and Maria's story at all, because they're all the same person. So they're really their separate impact of characters in Silent Hill was just kind of shut and cut and killed off. Same thing with Eddie's. They didn't really, because he was in one or two scenes, they cut his kind of whole point and whole part of Silent Hill completely, which still puzzles me a little bit. It's almost like they had an intention to have him in there and then they cut part of it in order to save time and not shoot as many scenes, or hopefully there's some deleted scenes that maybe kind of show a bit more, because they could have just honestly cut even 2 scenes of Eddie and shortened the movie and there was no impact. What I do really love, after all of the nitpicks there and problems with it, what I do really love though about this film is the emphasis and focus on James and Mary, to the point where he goes through all this, the struggle, the build up, and the pain that he's suffering, as well as Mary, by changing a bit on how her demise was done. She goaded James. She really kind of emphasized how she wanted to be free, and it was more of a consensual thing instead of it being ambiguous of if James really just killed her due to his lustful intent and also for his intent to move on and not take care of Mary anymore. He was very invested, and Mary was also, you could just tell by the performance that she kind of was in agreement to asking James, hey, take me out, I want to be free, and kind of go from there, which I actually like that part of it, because it makes it seem like James is not entirely a piece of crap. The other part too that I actually enjoyed was the time loop. They did the in-water ending when it came to them drowning together, and then with the actual letter and him being together with Mary. And then they confirm, based on the ending of this movie, that basically the time loop is a real thing. Now, again, we go back to the adaptation portion. In real life, this kind of makes sense. And in a, well, it doesn't, but in this real life scenario for this movie, this adaptation, it makes sense that James might be going through a loop. And it kind of gives a bit of peace or some, good positive kind of motions that he can make different decisions and know that if he's in Silent Hill, that time loop is going to continue, which is the popular fan theory that everybody believed in for Silent Hill 2, the remake, and the original, which is why there's the glimpses and everything like that and the long Easter egg. So it kind of more or less includes that. And honestly, it's pretty great. I honestly thought it was wonderful. There were certain parts of the movie that was atmospheric and it worked out really well. I would have loved to see a bit more of the streets of Silent Hill, a bit more, and not everything just covered full of ash. Of course, that's a cinematography environmentalist part of me that's just still kind of stuck on Silent Hill 2 itself. But I would have loved to see a bit more of that. The special effects, some of them were really good, some of them were pretty cheesy. You could tell that most in some were CG, and then you could tell when they put a big emphasis on it. Even the Return to Silent Hill intro I thought was actually kind of interesting and impressive, believe it or not. But there are definitely different parts of the monsters, experiences, and things that James runs into that I'm like, yeah, that's CG, but the practical effects also for some of it did make me feel a little icky, which means it did a good job. I think some parts of the game itself that emphasize that was actually pretty good. It definitely made you uncomfortable. It definitely made you feel a little weird, and it definitely felt you made you feel like a little awkward being there and watching the experiences he's going through. It is an odd choice for the nurses that he kind of just made them mannequins. I don't really get that. I mean, it's supposed to symbolize like James's issue, and kind of wants and needs for the lustful intent that he has. So they have to be actual women, but they aren't. So it was kind of weird that they did that along the way. But again, it goes back to that odd choice of all the characters into one manifesting in his mind. It makes sense, I guess, from a story perspective. Well, as much as Silent Hill can make sense to anybody. But yeah, it was just kind of odd. Something that I still think about and wonder about. I may actually see this film again just to kind of see if I can get a better, process on watching this and interpreting things, because it is a little interesting and different, which is what I like. And it's something that Silent Hill has always been known for experimentation and differences in storytelling when it comes to this. The sirens, the Pyramid Head stuff, they did soften kind of the impact of what Pyramid Head really was. Honestly, the big reveal is that it is secretly kind of James underneath experiencing the same stuff in a few different ways, instead of being his guilt that he eventually kind of overcomes and takes over. So they did kind of soft blow the Pyramid Head character a bit more, but still, it was pretty effective. He was pretty grotesque and gruesome looking. I would have loved to see a bit more of an impact there, but to each its own. So at the end of the day, did I think this was a good film? I thought it was enjoyable, and I thought it was interesting in the way that it was interpreted, and I definitely was entertained even for the time that it was. It is higher than the expectations I had, and let's be honest, we all had low expectations going in watching this movie because it's a video game adaptation. But I think it was higher than that than what I had. Is this an Oscar winner? No, this isn't going to win any awards. This certainly isn't going to. The best thing I could say is the diehards are going to probably hate this movie, the diehard fans who's looking for expanded lore. But the casual folks and folks that aren't introduced to Silent Hill are probably going to enjoy this film. And those that kind of have a clear head, knowing that this is an adaptation, a different interpretation, I think you'll enjoy this. Honestly, I think Mary, who also played Maria, and I think also played Angela, I couldn't really tell, I'll be honest. I think she did an excellent job. I thought she included the emphasis of Mary pretty well. And then the big turn when it comes to the cult kind of running things in Silent Hill, I actually thought that was quite interesting and a good, different way to have a connection with Mary, the cult, and also James kind of combating that. Even though in Silent Hill 2, I mean, the cult is predominantly part of it, but it's not a big change in the story. In this one, it is. And I think it makes a lot more realistic sense that, that would be part of the commotion that would be started is from the cult, and causes a lot of problems and issues between James and Mary's relationship. Anyway, that's my take on this. I hope you've gotten something good out of the film. Honestly, I think I really enjoyed it myself. I'll probably go see it again, and I'll probably own a copy of it and probably watch it with the other two. I liked the first and the second one. It's more of a guilty pleasure. I know not everybody's a big fan of them, but I actually enjoyed them as well. I definitely will say, though, I think I kind of enjoyed this a bit more, especially more than Revelations. I don't think I'll say it's better than the first Silent Hill, but I would say it's pretty close to on par, because I enjoyed those probably pretty equally. Anyway, let me know your comments below. I'm sure everyone's got opinions about it. Feel free to mention it, and we'll have a discussion because it's quite an interesting film. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.